welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I am Lupagus, and today we're going to talk about 5 Minnesota Vikings who may be losing their starting jobs in 2022. Before we hop on that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the vids. We're ever so close to 6,000 subscribers. Hopefully we hit that before draft day. That would be absolutely fan-frickin-tastic. All right, free agency is on the horizon, almost a week away, and with free agency comes new players, new faces, and a lot of those new faces could be replacing a lot of the current starters on the Minnesota Vikings. Some of these also may be replaced through the draft. So we're going to talk about 5 guys, current starters on the Minnesota Vikings, who may lose that starting title in 2022. And the first one's very obvious. It's our center, Garrett Bradberry. I mean, this guy started 13 games last year. He was hurt for a few there, or maybe he had COVID. I can't remember what the hell it was. The problem is he's just not strong enough. He can't anchor. He cannot hold up against the bull rush. He's been overpowered so many times, pushed back into Kirk Cousins' dick more times than I can remember. They have to find somebody else, somebody who can anchor, somebody who can hold their own, somebody who can be stout against that interior rush. The question with Bradberry becomes, is he going to stick around or not? I mean, there's no real reason to let him go. You don't really save anything. He does provide some backup at center, and maybe he can play some guard. The question now becomes, who's going to replace him? Will it be a guy who's already on the team in Mason Cole? Will the new regime re-sign him? Will it be somebody from outside the organization in free agency? Or will it be using the 12th overall pick on a Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa? Those are kind of the options right now. We'll see what the Vikings decide to do, but do not expect Garrett Bradberry to start a single game for the Vikings in 2022 unless they are absolutely desperate and can't find anybody else to hold down that spot. The next guy is our outside linebacker, well, defensive end, but he will be an outside linebacker in the Vikings' new 3-4. And that's DJ Wanham. Last year, he started 14 games. He had a decent season, 8 sacks, 47 tackles. I think he'd do well in the 3-4, standing up, rushing the quarterback. And you can also play in the 4-3 when they use those looks, as Ed Donatel said they'd be doing. But here's the thing. The Vikings hold a 12th overall pick. Regardless if they think Wanham's a starter or not, Danielle Hunter's future is cloudy, so they could very well use that 12th pick on an edge rusher, Jermaine Johnson, David Ojabo, George Karlaftis. There's plenty of options there. And then maybe they do hang on Danielle Hunter. Boom, that pushes DJ Wanham back to a situational role, maybe where he comes in and spells. And you know what? Maybe DJ Wanham would be better in that role as a situational pass rusher and not a starter. There were just too many games where he just disappeared last year. Then he'd show up a couple weeks later, then disappear again. So DJ Wanham, a guy I think is going to lose his starting job in 2022, even though really I think he does fit pretty well in the 3-4. A guy you definitely want to keep around as some depth. And like I said, he use every now and then, but I don't think he'll be a starter. Let's go to a guy only started 7 games last year, but kind of slated, kind of assumed to be a starter moving forward here in 2022, and that's Cameron Dantzler, the cornerback. Dantzler had his ups and downs last year. A guy I do feel like he fell into Zimmer's doghouse, maybe lost some of his confidence when Bashad Breeland was brought in, because the kid played pretty damn well as a rookie, though he did have some struggles with injury and staying on the field. But here's the thing. The Vikings, the cornerback cupboard is so bare. They're going to hit it in free agency. They're going to hit it in the draft. They could use 12th pick on a Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley. And then in the draft, there's, linked to Darius Williams and a bunch of other players out there. So they could definitely bring in a couple corners. And, before he knows it, Cameron Dantzler could look in the mirror and he'll be the number 3 corner on this depth chart. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he is bumped down just due to the fact that the guys the Vikings could be bringing in here. Last year, his season was decent, 53 tackles, 8 passes defense, to force fumble and interception. So a guy I'm not giving up on yet, but I feel like he could definitely be bumped down the depth chart and lose that starting title that everybody kind of assumes he's going to get, which he probably doesn't really quite deserve yet. He needs to earn it a little bit more here. So hopefully he's not forced into a starting role, because I don't think he's just quite ready. A guy we know should never be a starter again in the league, and that's Oldie Udo, our right guard from a season ago. He's just horrible. He was just horrible. I mean, he started off good. I think first couple of games he did all right. Then it just all went to hell. Just can't block, and that's his job. He can't do his job. Get him the hell off the field. I would have just let this guy go. I do think he has a potential to be a career backup. He can play left tackle in a pinch. He can play guard in a pinch. He just can't do either very well, which isn't great. But Oldie Udo, yeah. No, we'll have a new right guard there. Who is it going to be? Wyatt Davis, maybe a draft pick, maybe a free agent. we'll see what happens there. But Oldie Udo, no way in hell is he going to start in 2022. He shouldn't have started last year. All right, my last guy on this list is a little more controversial. Might get some flack for this one, but tight end Irv Smith Jr. Yeah, dynamic playmaker, guy whose potential just feels like it just needs to be realized. He's right on the precipice, but he can't stay healthy. Too many injuries. A new regime coming in, no ties to him. They didn't draft him. They may look at him and be like, okay, this guy is even going to make it to the season. They could bring in somebody and, pencil them as the number one option because maybe that player they signed has proved to be more durable, more reliable, and they expect him to be there week one, where you can't really say the same with Irv Smith Jr. So maybe he's the number two guy, gets in some certain packages. So Irv Smith Jr., I don't think he should feel safe. Obviously, yes, he's the favorite to start. He probably will start, but depending who the Vikings bring in, it wouldn't be shocking to see the final depth chart maybe have somebody else on top of Irv Smith Jr. as TE number one. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who else may lose their starting job in 2022? Am I crazy for listening to any of these guys that I did? And always, for the love of God, always keep your skull in your hole.